Hi, and welcome, my friends, to the show that never ends. And as you can see, I'm out on location. We won't go into too much detail other than to say we just cannot stand being in the same room anymore as each other. It's been 2 weeks, and thank goodness Kieran is going back to Portsmouth tomorrow.
Yeah, we're all buzzing about that.
Aren't we? Aren't we just? Now, there's a few things we want to talk about. I haven't really had tons of time this week, have I?
No, none whatsoever. Been doing so
there's a
much.
few things we've got to talk about. One is the Wycombe game that did pretty well, I'd say. Generally, yeah, we're quite happy with the Wycombe game. We'll discuss the Wycombe game in a little bit of detail. I want to talk Chelsea. Kieran has a friend who's a Chelsea fan.
You should have just left it there, Kieran, as a friend. That would have been enough, to be fair.
Who listens to this
listens?
programme, and he really enjoys the quiz. So, I've got a Chelsea quiz, but it's not just a Chelsea quiz because, of course, we've got to talk about Liverpool and Chelsea versus Liverpool in the final. So I've got a Chelsea versus Liverpool quiz just for
Ben.
Kieran and Ben. So, Ben, doing a little piece on, I'm going to discuss Lukaku, one of your well-bought items. We've got the Liverpool, Manchester City, and Chelsea, Crystal Palace. Well, what about this one for Ben then? What do you call 100 Chelsea supporters at the bottom of a cliff? A good start. So we're off to a good start, and Wycombe. Let's start where we need to start. Ben, just hang on, mate. Hang on.
Don't worry. I think he skips through this bit. I don't think he'll keep on listening. Bless him.
He will. He'll get to the Chelsea bit.
No, he'll get to the Chelsea bit, but he'll skip through this bit, so I wouldn't worry too much about addressing him.
Oh, by the way, Ben, what do you call a Chelsea fan in a suit? The accused. Keep going, Kieran.
Is this my bit where I get to talk for a bit and then you butt in with different jokes, or how we're doing it?
Could be. Off you go.
Yeah.
Off you go, Wycombe.
So, Wycombe, we won 2-0 on Friday. We beat Plymouth 2-0. It was a very it seemed quite like hearted affair. Scored 2 very quick goals, 2 very good goals from McCleary, in which the first one was they both counter-attacking goals. First one, there was just a really good strike from near enough the edge of the box, and the second one, Handon just pretty much destroying their defence and putting on the plate for him. And then rest of the game, because I was in the terrace with some mates near the back with the ultras, it just felt like we were just seeing the whole game, and the game itself, not a lot really happened. Plymouth didn't really impose themselves too much, which, we're not going to complain. They were our potential banana slip come the end of the season. The only thing with it was that everyone else won.
I know.
Sunderland Wednesday. Did Oxford win? Can't remember, but most teams around
that
just
didn't
won.
matter. Oxford winning doesn't matter.
Not really, no. But it's just a bit of this was the one that we could have slipped up on, and the fact that we didn't make any sort of ground because we won it was just a little bit annoying. But yeah, Wycombe in general played pretty well. I mean, it was the exact same sort of performances we were having at the start of the season, where we were winning 2-0 and 2-1 at home, in which we'd score 2 goals pretty early on and then just hold on to it for the rest of the game, which of course is, in the long term probably isn't the style that we want to be playing. But at this stage of the season, I don't think anyone particularly cares. It's just about getting results, and we did that very well against a Plymouth team who maybe we just neutralised them so much that they weren't able to impose themselves, but they weren't great. They really weren't great in terms trying to play out from the back. because we were pretty much behind the goalkeeper when he was passing it out, and just some of the passes he was trying to give to his teammates, you felt sorry for them because they were just put under so much pressure that they weren't gonna be able to do anything, and just the ball was just gonna linger about. And with Farino and Tafazoli just clearing up pretty much everything. One being able to pass the ball a bit better than the other, has to be said. Farino he is definitely a non-league defender in which he will just boot it wherever he sees possible.
Really, you think that? You think that bad?
Oh, yeah. He's not League One. He's not League. I don't think he's even League Two. I think he completed like 2 or 3 passes during the entire game. I know Wycombe players aren't known for particularly completing many passes or anything, but every single time the ball came to him, he just battered it into row Z every time. Which for this game was fine because it slowed the game down. He made sure that they didn't get in, but as a long-term kind of player for Wycombe, he was not the one. But there was a lot of talk on Twitter actually about Alfie Mawson potentially returning soon, which would be interesting.
I saw him playing.
He was probably Swansea or Derby or one of those.
Derby.
Yeah, and people would obviously be very excited by that, by how he played when he came here last time. But I think the thing with him is that he's very injury prone. That's why he would come back to Wycombe if he were to. Yeah, there was lots to talk about because people were saying, "Oh, just saw Alfie Mawson in Wycombe, just saw him at the ground or whatever." And so it sounds pretty legitimate. Whether that is true or not, I don't know. But yeah, that would be interesting. But yeah, Farino that's his kind of level. Gape and Scow in midfield were both pretty decent. A lot of people saying that Gape wasn't good at all. I tend to disagree. I thought he did absolutely fine. Scowen did a few more noticeable things, maybe, that led to chances for Wycombe, but I thought Gape did just as well, to be fair to him. And yeah, the three in behind Vokes. Vokes was okay. Vokes did, what he needed to. I think he got an assist from McCleary for one of the goals. Handon looks very flipping dangerous every time he gets in the ball.
I know.
I thought
that.
Just like running at defenders and all that sort of thing is his.
There was no room for him up that line for the
cross. No
room.
It was like everyone was comparing it to Bale did it for Real Madrid a couple of seasons ago, where he literally ran off the pitch to get around someone. That's what Handon did for our second goal. And McCleary was obviously McCleary, I think, probably could be our player of the season at this point. There's a lot of goals that he scores that, just a lot of match-winning goals at the very least as well. Organ, not so good. He was just... there was some classic Horgan moments where there would be a cross that goes too long or a shot that a half chance that he just puts into row Z kind of thing.
Okay,
which is
here
unfortunate.
Here we go. Paul sent me his player ratings. His player ratings. All right. So we start at the back. Stockdale, he had not a great deal to do and got booked for time wasting. He gave 6.
Yeah, didn't actually have to do anything, so that's fine.
Tafazoli, his usual solid performance, 7.
Yeah, could have arguably gone under the radar a bit and maybe could be an 8, to be fair.
Farino, solid in defending, but poor on distribution after winning the ball. A youngster in his first season, so learning the game at this level, he gave a 6.
I'd argue there's a bit of a difference between learning the game at this level and literally booting it into row Z every single time. You can't be that nervous that you have to do it every time. But in terms of this game, yeah, 6 is fine. I didn't really have to do the technical side of it.
Jacobson, solid in defence, but I wish someone else would take free kicks just outside the penalty area. Gave a 7.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I suppose. I mean, there was. I assume the one he was talking about was on the left-hand side of the goal,
That's right.
which was for really right footers. But I mean, no one particularly comes to mind as to someone who could take free kicks. Or we haven't been able to see who does take free kicks. So
Right.
I don't know. But yeah, he was pretty good.
At first glance, Gape, it said, looked to be a bit, and I realised it said rusty. 5.
Yeah, cause I've seen these. Right, I think Mum showed me them the other night. But yeah, I think he was quite good. I think he also gave Scowen an 8, didn't he, or a 7?
I was just about to say he gave Scowen an 8.
Yeah.
Covered every blade of the grass, was everywhere. Pity about the booking. Does the booking make any difference?
I wouldn't argue to a rating, probably not. I'd say he's
not going to miss a game or anything, is he?
I don't think so. I think you could give Scowen an 8, and I probably would have given Gape a 7. I think I have a bit of a soft spot for Gape, so that's probably why, but I thought he was pretty good.
McCleary, 2 good goals. The first one of the best goals I've seen this season for me. He is our player of the season. Gave a 9.
Match winner.
Can't argue with that, really. I don't think you can argue with that. I mean, that first goal, I tell you what, I bet Chelsea wish Werner could do that. Or Lukaku, if it comes to that.
Yeah.
At least he can kick the football, Lukaku.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, McCleary was just like, he did win the match. I mean, you don't know what would happen afterwards if he doesn't score that kind of wonder goal. It could just peter out into a 0-0 with Craig. It's easier done, but
Horgan, back to normal. He was rubbish. He was first to be substituted. Sorry. First to be substituted. He gave a 3. Low. That's low.
I'm trying to think if he was that bad. I think it was difficult to tell because like there wasn't that much concentration on the game after 2-0. There really wasn't. Like everyone was just kind of stood there and laughing at linesmen or refs or just someone who did something stupid. Like everyone knew that it was going to finish 2-0. There was no chance it wasn't going to. And so he probably was quite bad. I don't remember him doing too many things well, but yeah.
Hanlon made the second goal with his strength, otherwise not much more.
I'm
not sure I'd agree with that.
I thought he did a decent amount still. I still would have given him a 7. Probably not an 8, but I would have given him a 7.
That's what he gave him, 7.
Yeah.
And Vokes, a very quiet game. He won nothing in the air as 2 defenders were on him all the time. 5. Now, I thought, okay, fine. And then I looked something up on that because I wondered about Vokes because that wasn't really quite how I read his game, you see, and I know I've probably got a soft spot for him or whatever. So I looked up what they gave him for the game. Well, on here it gives McCleary a 9 stars, but Vokes it gives 8, and I thought that's interesting. I wonder why. And 1 assist, 2 shots, 2 key passes, 36 touches. But then it gets aerial duels 1. When Paul said he won nothing in the air, he won 71% of the balls in the air.
Yeah, I think it's probably he won a lot, but they didn't necessarily go to anyone in a good position. I think there was a couple of those as opposed to he didn't win anything. He did. I mean, he won the header to go through for the first goal, hence his assist. But yeah, but insanely, he won 71% of his headers. I don't know whether that means it's the other player's fault that it appears that he had a poor game. Maybe it is. Because they got to make runs off him, and of course, if he wins a header and no one's there, then it's not necessarily his fault. But he was still a little bit quiet. I didn't think he particularly still did too much, but yeah, he did enough. He did enough.
He did. He did enough. Of course, just to mention, which I think is quite an interesting one. When Wycombe play Wimbledon tomorrow, and then Plymouth are playing Sunderland, I thought we wanted Plymouth to smash Sunderland. They're a problem. In fact, if Sunderland beat Plymouth, we go above Plymouth.
Mm.
And if we win and they lose, it does mean points. We would be above them by a point, and possibly if we've won and they've lost, that also would mean the goal difference is about the same. But it does leave us actually above Plymouth on points, same games played, and I think that actually is the way we would want it to go. But we shall see. We shall see. There's never happened, has it? The day never happened as it was supposed to. I mean, all the teams we want to win keep losing, and all the teams we want to lose keep winning. And it's going to boil down to Wycombe just getting on, putting their heads down, and getting on with it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
the outcome is the outcome, and that they've done all they can.
I think at the end of the day, I think if we win all our games, we still go up, get into the playoffs at least. So yeah, I mean, it's always has. I mean, that's what a footballer always tells you is their focus is, we just try and focus on the next game. We're not looking at the table. Of course, they'll have a little look at the table, but yeah, in this situation, you just do need to have a look at yourself and just make sure you win the next game. We can't be saying, "Oh, we need Plymouth to beat Sunderland or whatever." When for one, we didn't beat Sunderland, and two, we need to beat Wimbledon. So yeah.
Okay. Do we need really? Is that covers it? I thought Plymouth was shocking. Thought they were awful. Couldn't play up the back. Wycombe played high up the pitch, tied them down. They couldn't do what they wanted to do, and had no other clue.
No, they were rubbish. That has to be said. They were rubbish.
And I think they can't go up, can they?
I mean, if we got them in the playoffs, I'd be pretty confident. Because I think we beat them away, didn't we? 3-0 as well. Remember that because they were top of the league at that point. So I would be pretty excited if we got them in the playoffs. I don't think it will end up that we do get them. But no, they wouldn't. I don't think they're a big enough club really to survive the championship either. Although they're the stature as much as us. They have as much stature as us.
They have a bigger fan base, but then they would simply because of where they are. They got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, and I mean, in saying they have a bigger fan base than us, I mean, for one, that's not saying too much, and for two, all the teams in the championship have pretty big fan bases. So even if they do have a bigger one than us, it probably isn't as much as championship clubs. That's not to say they can't survive in it, but it's just a little less likely.
Can't see it. I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. Okay, shall we move on then?
Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. A primary school teacher explains to her class that she is a Chelsea supporter. She asked her students to raise their hands if they were Chelsea supporters too. Not really knowing what a Chelsea supporter was, but wanting to be like their teacher, hands explode in the air. There is, however, one exception, a girl named Mary. She hasn't gone along with the crowd, and the teacher asks her, "Why have you decided to be different to everybody else then?" That's because I'm not a Chelsea fan, the girl asks. Then the teacher says, so what are you then? I'm proud to be a Liverpool supporter, boasts the little girl. The teacher is a little perturbed now, her face slightly red. She asks Mary, why is she a Liverpool supporter? Well, my dad and mum are Liverpool supporters, and I'm a Liverpool fan too. The teacher is now angry. That's no reason, she says loudly. What if your mum was a moron and your dad was a moron? What would you be then? A pause, a smile. Then says Mary, I'd be a Chelsea supporter.
Nice. I like that one. That was good.
Okay.
That was one of your better ones.
Ben, who do your parents support? Meanwhile,
I don't know who that's for.
no. Moving on. Yeah. Moving on then. Moving on. Which sexual position produces the ugliest children? Ask a Chelsea supporter.
For goodness sake. Oh, blimey.
Anyway, meanwhile, moving on.
I didn't really
Chelsea.
understand it, I mean, fair, yeah.
You didn't understand it.
Which sexual position was the ugliest? Ask a Chelsea fan. I don't know what it has to do with
Kieran, sorry, moron
No.
or what?
Which sexual position? Oh yes, yep. Sorry, yep.
Goodness sake! Oh dear,
A little bit slow.
Right.
Sorry.
Okay. Off we go then. We'll come back to Lukaku and Chelsea. We'll do we'll do the quiz on the Liverpool Chelsea to keep him entertained for now, and then we'll do talk about Liverpool City, and then we'll talk about Chelsea Lukaku. Okay.
Sound.
Right, I've got all my devices up here, and they're all on set to different bits. I have to try and remember where they all are on all these different. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. Can you keep a track on how many I ask and how many you get wrong and right? Because I'll never do it.
Yes, right.
Okay. Some are a little. Well, all right then. Number one. What was the score in Roy Hodgson's only match against Chelsea during his time at Liverpool? Now, do you need me to give you the 4 options?
Can I answer and then say yes or no?
Yep.
I think it's 2-0 to Liverpool.
You're correct.
I'll say no then. Fernando Torres scored both of them. If you're wondering.
Don't make comments like that because that might come up.
Well, if this is
another question.
No, I do apologise.
Who was sent off for a reckless tackle on Alonso in Liverpool's 2-0 victory over Chelsea in 2009? Do you need names?
Lampard.
You're correct. Lampard. How are you getting on, Ben?
He wouldn't have got the first one. He might have got the second one.
Okay, this would be... Yeah, okay. What was the score in the game between Liverpool and Chelsea, February 2000? Is this the one you know? 2011. Fernando Torres started a week after his move to the Blues.
Yeah. 0-0?
No, it
1-0.
was Liverpool 1, Chelsea 0.
Oh, Yeah, I know who scored as well. That's
How
annoying.
many have we done so far?
3.
3. So remember to keep a track because
Mate, I've got a tally, mate. Don't worry.
Okay. I was surprised the referees decided a goal was scored when they could not see it. I asked how he could be so sure that it was a goal. Who is cry-arsing about Luis Garcia's ghost goal in this quote?
I'm assuming Mourinho.
Wrong.
John Terry?
Check.
Yeah, that's a stupid comment from Czech because he took out Luis Garcia Barros on the way there. So he would have got a red card if it hadn't stood. So, Muppet.
Yeah, just keep a track. Right,
I am keeping track. Don't worry.
Okay, who scored the winning penalty in the shootout in the 2007 Champions League semi-final?
Count.
That is correct. Sorry, see, this is a little bit. It'll go the other way. Don't panic.
Yeah.
Okay. Who scored Chelsea's second goal in their famous 2-0 win over Liverpool at Anfield in 2014?
Willian.
That's correct. In 2009, Liverpool and Chelsea drew 4-4 in the Champions League. Who scored a penalty for Liverpool that night?
Alonso.
That's correct. Which Liverpool player scored an own goal in the 2005 League Cup final in Cardiff?
Gerrard.
That's correct. And I'll give you one more.
Do 2 more because then I'll make it to 10.
Okay, Liverpool have won a combined 25. This is obviously from a Liverpool fan, this question. Liverpool have won a combined 25 league and European Cup titles. How many combined league titles and European Cups have Chelsea won?
2 European Cups, and I'm going to say 9 league titles, so 11.
Sorry, it's 8.
They only won 6. They only won 6 league titles.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Okay. And last one.
Mm-hmm.
Which player who represented both clubs scored the winner in a 2-1 away victory for Liverpool in November 2011?
Uh, 2-1. Glenn Johnson.
That's correct. Okay. So how many did you get?
I got 7 out of 10.
Ben, if you're not embarrassed, post your figures up, mate. Post your figures up. Okay, so there's your Chelsea-Liverpool quiz. Moving on then, and where were we going? Liverpool City. Okay, then. Give us a bash then, Kieran.
Give us a bash.
Yeah.
Wow, it was fun, wasn't it? 3-0 at half time, and City, whilst playing their C team, you have to remember, we just battered them. I'm sure he was about to say the stat, but the stat is actually no. I'll let you say it. Go on.
What?
You've researched the stat about it being their C team. I'll let you say it.
The Manchester City's B team on the pitch were bought for 423 million. Liverpool's A team on the pitch were bought for less at 415 million. That means City's team were more expensive than Liverpool's team. And I don't think using the excuse of our B team, I think is a shocker. And I think that's embarrassing to your football club, in fact, because if you spend that sort of money, that's Manchester United's reasoning. You just keep buying until they work. And I'm afraid if you bought players who aren't good enough, you don't buy them. Simple as that. Liverpool are able to rotate their players bit at a time and managed so that they can put a player in amongst. And do you know what I thought City's biggest fault was? Well,
Goal.
no, it's not the biggest, but it was one, and that is they had no captains on the pitch. I didn't think they had nobody in charge. And they're not used to playing with each other like that. They've got a goalkeeper they don't know, who has had how many games?
About 2.
Who can't even get. And you telling me that Chelsea can't get a decent second goalkeeper?
Man City.
Sorry, Man City can't get a decent second goalkeeper. He can't even get in the American team, for goodness sake. And I'll let you carry on in just 1 second, and I'll make this point. And that is, I looked up that ridiculous second goal and did a little bit of research on what goalkeeping trainers thought of it. And he made an absolute desperate fault. And that was when the ball came to Stones kicked it back. As soon as he's kicking it back, you should be up. You should be looking, scanning, where's the attack coming from? He knows where the attack's coming from. Stones points him to where it's going. So what is he supposed to do? You've got a choice of 3 things. You hit it first whack. Dangerous because it's coming in at an angle. But if you don't have time, you just hit it. You're not be passing it out, you're to be whacking it, right?
Yeah.
Remember, he doesn't want to do that because he's been taught he must pass the ball out. He's scared of whacking it. You don't do that. You're a Manchester City goalkeeper. You pass the ball out. So he's not going to just hit it on first whack. The second is to kill the ball dead and then stroke the ball out. And the other one is to tap the ball in the direction you want it to go, away from the attack, and then pass it out. Yes? You've either got 1 touch or 2 touches. You dismiss the 1 touch because he ain't going to do that. He's not allowed. You pass the ball out. So now he has to just decide on whether he kills the ball dead or taps it away from the dangerous area, which is the middle and to the right of where he's standing. So he wants to tap it with his right foot to the left and then pass the ball out. That is what he should be doing. But if you watch, what he actually does is he kills the ball dead.
Yeah. And
with the wrong foot.
The only thing he can do when he kills the ball dead is do like a lofted pass to left back or right back. And he doesn't want to do that. Because he sees I think it's Ake on the left hand side. Then he sees Salah running across, and now he's thinking, oh crap, I can't do that. And he just gets the ball muddled up, doesn't he?
Because what he should have done, soon as that was coming in at him, he'd made his mind up. He should have kicked it to the side, to the left-hand side and pass. It was that simple. But it wasn't, because he killed the ball dead with the wrong foot. And from then on, he then looks up and he's in trouble. the first touch should have taken it away from the goal and Mane. And it didn't. He didn't do that. He actually put it right in his path, exactly where he wanted it, is what he did. And that was his mistake.
Yeah.
Edison, they kept going on about Edison's the other day, and how calm he was on the line. But if you watch the difference of what he did and how he dealt with the ball with his feet, you'd see he knew where he was going, even though he slightly miskicked it and lost it. He still knew where it was going, and it was already going in the right direction. He just had to follow through. Whereas this guy had it going in the wrong direction. And he cocked it up. But you can't bring on... And what was wrong with Liverpool? Why didn't they win the league a couple of years ago? A centre-back and a goalkeeper. It can win or lose everything. The two most important... This was discussed, wasn't it? Through the whole league. The two most important things you need on that football pitch to stop balls going in the net is a centre-back and a world-class goalkeeper.
Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but City do have a world-class goalkeeper. And yeah, they just
sat on the bench.
He was sat on the bench. They just decided not to use him.
World-class goalkeeper and a centre-back. That's what they needed, and they didn't have their world-class goalkeeper on a football pitch. What is he? Don't feel sorry for him. Oh, look, go and have a game. You know, it doesn't matter you're not very good, but I mean, I know, Wembley semi-final, really important. But hey, you are. Don't worry about your £40,000 a week, because that's what he picks up. By the way, you don't do that. You don't gamble with a goalkeeper.
Well, no, you don't really.
Why Liverpool?
Well,
Liverpool gamble with their goalkeepers.
Well, in saying that, like Pep evidently would have some sort of faith in his goalkeeper, in Stefan, that he would be able to perform at a decent level. Liverpool won the League Cup final with Kelleher in goal as opposed to Alisson, and Kelleher ends up being very good. So the difference is that Man City evidently do not have a very good second goalkeeper. They have probably a good, lower Premier League goalkeeper. Maybe not even that. We don't really know. We haven't seen him play that many games.
But that's the point. I could tell you what Kelleher's like, and so could you.
Yeah.
But this guy, everybody thinking, who's he then? What's his name?
And in the games he's played, he's never impressed as such. He hasn't always been horrific in every game he's played, but he's never been, amazing to suggest that he should play.
I think if Liverpool lost their number one goalkeeper and Kelleher came in for an injury to number one goalkeeper for 6 weeks, so I don't think Liverpool would panic.
No.
Whereas if City lost Edison, I think you could throw the title. That'd be the end of that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I think that was before those mistakes. Before that mistake, he is not good enough.
I mean,
to be in a team of first or second best football team in the world. I mean, you telling me they can't get something better than that?
Well, they could spend some more money.
Yeah. But, and so I think that is Mr. Managers. And I'll leave you... the other thing that just on my mind was the substitutes and lack of used, and which players he used and which players he didn't. I think the manager can take 100% blame for that game for City. I really do. I thought when I read that lineup, I think you've lost, mate. And I really believed that. I thought, I rubbed my hands thinking this is Liverpool's big chance. And the bonus of Liverpool getting through is it gives them a one-up if the teams meet again in Europe.
Yeah.
And he couldn't afford to lose that game. And and I'm sorry saying you put your B team out, rubbish. No, you didn't just put a B team out. It wasn't the B team.
No,
Your
it wasn't.
goalkeeper was, but the rest you don't just make so many changes because it's not the same team. The word team.
And yeah, it wasn't particularly one that Liverpool could afford to lose, but it wasn't. I mean, it was for City in some respects because obviously the FA Cup for them is not the most important thing. However, just in terms of like a momentum thing, like going into the next game, the pressure that Liverpool would have going into the United game on Tuesday would be gigantic if they'd lost to City on Saturday. And I imagine that the pressure that City will now have on their Tuesday game will be a lot bigger because they've lost this. Because
Just
it's
out of interest, the European Cup final.
Mm.
Do you know what the date is of that?
I don't know what the date is, but it's after everything else is finished.
After the FA Cup.
FA Cup is there's two games. There's something like that. There's two Premier League games after the FA Cup final. So yeah, I sort of similarly with the goalkeeper. All three Liverpool goals in the first half, you went a bit like, oh, could he have done something there? Obviously, the second one. The first one, the header is a very good header. It's a powerful header, high up, but it is middle of the goal. Like it's not impossible for Stefan to try and move and get something on it. Because even if he just taps it, like it probably hits the bar and comes out because it's very close to the bar. And then the third one, Mane is a decently tight angle on a volley that doesn't look like it's hit particularly hard. Like he's put an awful lot of spin on it. And it's gone in the bottom corner, and you're getting beaten, you're near post by something that like wasn't the best shot in the world. It was a very good one. It was a very good one, but you keep thinking just like Edison probably saves that. Not that I'm going to complain though. I mean, Liverpool did look a heck of a lot better than what they did against City last week. In terms of, it just seems as though like when Liverpool play at Wembley or at home, that their defensive line just looks so much more stable. The second half actually it got a bit found out. I don't know whether we took our foot off the gas or something. It was not playing as well as we were in the first half.
You could argue, of course, that City's problem was European.
Yeah, I mean, of course they
had Atletico Madrid, who are well known for one or two little antics. Is that the term?
Yeah.
And well, just hate football is what I'd call it. I think you either take it or you don't, and he lost two players because of that game, didn't he? He lost De Bruyne with stitches in his foot, even though he was on the bench. Why was he on the bench?
Don't know.
He's got 4 stitches in his foot.
Maybe he would have come on for a penalty or something like that.
I think, rather than sort of put a bedraggled City bits and pieces, he would have just been better off putting a bloody youth team out there for a bit more enthusiasm.
And it wasn't like it wasn't close in the end. I mean, City did have a lot of chances in the second half to potentially score. I know Alisson made a few saves. So it wasn't like they were too far behind, but they just left themselves too much to do by going in at 3-0 down at half time.
What are Manchester City's normal strengths?
Not letting you breathe. just like for relentless attacking prowess.
See, I don't remember Sterling getting to that byline once.
No, but I think they don't have to against a team like Liverpool because of our high line. They don't have to get to the byline. They can just be face to face with the goalkeeper, as they did a couple of times. Jesus got in a couple of times. Um, maybe that's something they don't, practice as often. Is not being at the byline, because obviously you've got your deep lying teams like Burnley, Newcastle, them, in which they have to get to the byline to create some sort of chance. But that doesn't really happen against Liverpool because we don't really sit back that much.
Okay, moving on then. Just out of interest, what should the score have been?
In what?
Did Liverpool deserve to win 3-2?
Oh, we deserved it. Arguably, I'd say probably by 2 goals as opposed to 1. I think 3-2 probably flatters them a little bit.
Yeah, you wonder where they. Yeah.
I mean, it would have been 4-2 if Mo could be in the form he was before he went to African Cup of Nations, but he's having a tough time, bless him. But it's good.
No, he's got all that decision making to do on what to spend that extra £60,000 a week on. Remember, it'd probably be going up to 400,000, and he hasn't quite got his head around spending the 300,000 a week yet. So he's got a lot to think about.
I think you may find it's a lot more. It's a lot down to his agent as opposed to is him. But yes, I do know what you mean. It's just a good thing that Mane has decided to turn up for the second half of the season.
Why has Mane decided to turn up?
Probably because Mo's not doing as well.
Because Diaz is on that football pitch. Diaz makes a hell of a difference to Mane.
To an extent, depends like where that like if they're on opposite wings, I feel like they have less of a impact on each other. But when Mane's through the middle and Diaz just picking up the ball and threading it, he just like Diaz doesn't score that many, he won't assist that many, but he'll thread passes through to the strikers and pick up free kicks left, right, and centre. And he has been unbelievable, Diaz. I love him.
On the Diaz money, blah 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 stuff. Name 2 Liverpool players that actually cost Liverpool far less than one Grealish did for City.
Well, I mean, you could say that Trent was worth nothing because he came from the academy. Robertson, 8 million from Hull.
How much was Diaz?
Was he 35?
Right.
I mean, the front three, Mane was, I think they were all actually 35. So our front three was worth about 105, 110 mil, and Grealish himself was worth 100. I think he got his first goal in like 4 or 5 months when he scored on Saturday as well.
Doesn't suit him, that team.
No.
It's better than that.
It might not even be the team, to be fair. It might just be his kind of like personality. You do not get the vibe that Grealish is the sort of bloke who's gonna, have a big sit down with Pep and talk about tactics and football. Like he just doesn't seem that. It's not really a criticism, but it's just like you just don't get that impression that Grealish is that type of person. And so I think
Grealish is better off being a star.
He's better off being a star at is it like would it be every other top team? Maybe Arsenal. I think he could fit in at Arsenal. I know they've already got all their attacking midfielders, but I'd like to see him. Of course, I'd have him. Obviously, he wouldn't come to Liverpool now, but don't go to United. If that's one thing, please don't go there. But City just doesn't really suit him.
Hanlon is as good as City's now. So all the rumours
Hanlon.
Sort of pen, yeah.
Who's Hanlon? What? Wycombe's Hanlon?
No, sorry, I don't mean him.
Harland.
Yeah. He's all the paper, all the little small print.
Yes.
Is you know, somebody mentioned Barcelona wanted him, and you know, how would he possibly refuse? Well, they ain't got any money. Is one of the reasons.
Yeah.
I could explain how they're spending what they are with no money, but I'll go into that another time. But the yeah, is he going to fit in?
Well, I mean, City haven't played with a striker in a flipping long time, have they? I mean, Aguero last season didn't really count. He's a counter-attacking striker, so you get the impression maybe not, because City will keep the ball for hours and hours on end, and
yeah, we saw that.
Yeah, well, and Haaland will finish a lot. He'll finish. Maybe he would be good. He won't get many touches because he's not really a playmaker. He will literally stand there and finish it. Maybe he's a little bit similar to kind of like a Ronaldo at Man United. So he'd get a lot of goals, but I don't know whether like he'd particularly do too much else in that respect. I don't know what they're and if they'd be sacrificing one of their creative attackers if they do have Haaland in the team. I don't know whether Pep wants that.
Right, okay. That'd be interesting. I mean, Jesus would be about time he left, really.
Yeah. About time he went to Everton or Spurs.
Yeah, Burnley, yeah. Okay. Why do Chelsea blokes drink from a saucer? It's because the cup's always in Manchester or Liverpool.
Nice. Yeah, that's good.
Anyway, meanwhile, I'm moving on. Just to say that the music, I'll write what it is down there. I only bought it today. Liquify is the name of the band. It's actually just one bloke, to be honest. One American puts this whole thing together for fun and then sells it really cheap on Bandcamp for sort of, like £3 for the hours album stuff. Worth looking up. But that's been the music in the background, by the way. Lukaku. We'll come to the other semi-final in a second. He did get on for about a minute. 10.
Not long.
Missed.
Yeah.
Missed. Run in the wrong direction and not in the box. Yeah, I think that was about it. 100 million. What's wrong with him?
He could also switch it and say what's right with him. That sounds a bit rude. He's just like in technical ability and like playing in intricate little spaces. It's not his thing. He is a power strong bloke who should be winning headers and scoring. He'd be similar to a Haaland. He should be a Haaland. And he's just so unbelievably low on confidence that he can't even do the basics right. He evidently does not want to be at Chelsea. I don't know why he came back to Chelsea. I assume the pay must have been pretty good, as it normally is there. But
they don't want him back where he left.
Well,
even though he tried to be nice about it.
Well, yeah.
They don't want him.
No, because the fans made their voices very clear, didn't they?
Yeah.
And Chelsea fans don't particularly want him either.
No.
The main Chelsea bloke on YouTube, guy called Rory Jennings, he really despises him now as well. So much so that he's starting to like Werner.
The interesting thing is that Tuchel has told him before today's game, if you want to get in the starting lineup, you play like Werner. Watch him. That's what he told him. That was
he might mean that in just of a
telling him how to play football is what he's telling him.
It might not be that, but just like the attitude and effort levels. Because if, as much as Werner can be pretty rubbish, if there's one thing that you can't like fault him for is effort. Whereas Lukaku, he had that one game against Crystal Palace, didn't he, where he did not have a single touch in the first half, and you don't do that if you're.
Was it 5 touches in the whole match or something?
Yeah, it was something
in the Premier League.
It was something stupid like that. And as much as Werner might miss 5 open goals, he's not going to have that minimal amount of touches. So maybe that's what he's looking at, as opposed to specifically Werner's game, his tactical game.
Yeah, I just don't see that he fits in at Chelsea at all. He looks like he'd fit in at, well, I don't know. I was going to say Bromley. I don't mean Bromley. Burnley.
Yeah, I don't know if I know we mentioned it a little while back. I don't know whether football has changed so much that you now don't really play with a striker. And Liverpool don't play with we play with a front three, but none of them are like a striker as such. City don't. I don't know.
What does he do? What does he do? I'll tell you what he does, because I looked up the goals, you see, that he scores. And I took a sort of a handful of all those goals he scored the year previous for his other team. And it's all fast boot up to, with his back to goal on the halfway line. He chests it down, turns his player and runs. That ain't going to happen at Chelsea. No. In fact, that isn't going to happen very often in the Premier League.
No. Especially not the top teams.
No, that isn't. It's play out the back stuff. He is an old number 9. He would suit Wycombe Wanderers. He would suit. Well, he wouldn't get into Swansea, for instance, or Oxford, or Milton Keynes. They wouldn't want him. He doesn't play that type of football. He is an old English football player.
Yeah, he's not your classic not classic, but your modernised number 9, is he?
He couldn't get into Liverpool, could he? What would they do with him?
Not at all. He would sit on the bench and do nothing.
Why did they buy him? I don't understand why they bought him. You see, what Werner does is he runs, doesn't he? He's forever standing along that back line, along with another 1 or 2 Chelsea players, and the ball is passed through. And he turns his player and runs. Lukaku doesn't do that. That isn't what Lukaku does.
No.
Lukaku takes the ball at his feet rather than lets the ball through. He'll take it with the player behind him, with him facing the wrong goal, and turn. But it's too slow. It's fine on a break thing. But it's not the sort of the build up from the back. It's a wrong game. Wrong game. It has to be quicker for his style to work from back to front. It has to be quick. Back to front feet, he turn, he's got the pitch to run at. But that isn't what
English football is. He needs to go back to a different country. I don't know whether he did very well in Italy, but obviously not now. Maybe Barcelona kind of thing, But I mean, I don't think Barcelona would have him, especially for the money they'd want. So I think he's a bit stuffed.
Benteke.
He's a glorified Benteke, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Mm.
I'm not. I mean, remember Benteke played for Liverpool once.
Yeah.
Bit of a shock, isn't it? How far have Liverpool moved on?
Don't even.
Chelsea then beating Crystal Palace. Did you watch it?
Watched the first half, in which not too much happened, apart from Havertz getting booked for diving.
Yes, that was good, wasn't it?
It was a good attempt.
It was only ever going to be Chelsea. It was only ever going to be Chelsea. At one point, one person would bother to put the ball through.
Mm.
I don't know what they're told and how they're trained to move that ball, but it didn't happen, did it?
What for Palace?
No, Chelsea. I don't know what they were trying to do. Couldn't work it out because all the forwards knew what they were doing. It's just nobody else knew what the forwards were doing.
It was a bit disconjugulated.
I mean, how many times did Werner wait for the whistle, go, and then think, where's the ball? Turn around and he's passed it sideways. And it's just that was the constant turnover of the game. They were ready, always ready to go, and it just didn't go. Nothing happened. They didn't put it through.
It was almost like they were trying to work the defenders silly in terms of the amount of effort and mental energy they're having to use, but it just didn't work like that, did it?
No,
they weren't bothered.
In the end, they scored because a player slipped.
Yeah,
and lost the ball, and that's what it would be based on: a player slipping. That's how they won it. And I have to be honest and say I think Liverpool stand more chance against Chelsea than they did against Crystal Palace.
You think?
Yeah, because Crystal Palace had their best player missing today, in my book, who won't be against Liverpool.
Yeah.
Gallagher, who Chelsea wouldn't let play because he's a Chelsea player playing for Crystal Palace. And I think that made a difference. And I think if Gallagher had been in that Crystal Palace team, I also think Chelsea wouldn't have won.
It would have been a very different game. Yeah, has to be said. Not sure as to like,
isn't it?
Yeah.
And they didn't have one.
I mean, Eze supposedly would be that sort of playmaker in there, but don't know. Against a team like Chelsea, you don't really get that impression. So
maybe Chelsea could do with him back. Actually,
I'm sure they will use him. I hope they do anyway. I hope he just doesn't, because he's the same sort of position as kind of where Mason Mount would be. I hope they don't just continuously use Mount and not use Gallagher.
Anything else to say about that game? We're looking forward to the Liverpool-Chelsea.
Yeah, quadruples on, mate. Quadruples would be great.
Yeah, you can knock that one on the door now. You can forget about that. That'll be a luxury for later. Now worry about all the other things that are happening. And all the other things that are happening are Manchester United beat Norwich. And,
good.
And didn't we all have to keep double checking that to see whether they're actually going to win a game? And sure enough, they did. What was it? 3-2, wasn't it?
What a game. Yeah.
Ronaldo.
Two titans of this country battling it out.
Ronaldo scored a hat-trick.
Scored a free kick.
Yeah. Funny thing is, it makes it sound like he scores loads. Do you know how many goals he scored in 2022?
Probably quite a few.
Can you look it up for me?
Ronaldo?
Yeah, in 2022. While you're looking it up, why did God make Chelsea supporters smelly? So blind people could laugh at them too.
Nice.
Yeah. Say when you've looked it up.
He's got 7.
7. So he'd only actually scored 4 before yesterday in 2022.
More than Mo.
More than Mo. Why has nobody started having a go at Mo yet then? Why isn't it all in the papers? Because he has been pretty awful.
Why do you want him to have some public slating of how bad he's been at football?
Usually they get on with it pretty quick.
He's probably had some leeway considering how ridiculously good he was at the start of the season.
I don't think I don't think playing for his country does him any favours either.
Well, the fact that he lost the final of AFCON and then lost the World Cup qualifier probably didn't help. And probably the situation with his contract doesn't help either. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be, scoring at least a few, but, just a good thing that everyone else in the team is firing. And if one isn't, then that's okay.
Yeah.
Until it gets to the point in which no one is firing, and then we're a bit stuffed.
You say about public media, I was looking up. We'll just get around this topic, and we'll stop there. But I was just I was looking up. It suddenly crossed I wonder what's happened to Mason Greenwood when that all goes to court and everything. So I tapped into my phone, and of course I'd opened a Twitter account for some daft reason for the because I think it was on that the Wycombe supporter club thing is on. So I didn't really want it or use it, and it, of course, when I put this in Google, what's happened to those, and you press a button and up comes all these choices. I pressed that and it took me to Twitter eventually in some form or fashion. With all people commenting on Mason Greenwood, I was shocked at how much there was this stuff because he's a footballer. All this sort of, I'll forgive him, he's only young. And somebody sort of commented, no, rape and abuse we're talking about. Yeah, well, we all make mistakes, don't we? And I was thinking, no, that can't be right. And you scroll down and hundreds and hundrds were all, oh, poor bloke, he's suffering, and oh, come on, they'll get over it. He didn't kill anybody. And comments like, I'm shocked, absolutely shocked. I was.
That's the problem with Twitter.
Yeah, that's why you do not read Twitter, exactly. And on that comment, I wanted to just mention Pep Guardiola, how disappointed I was with him, because at least when Tuchel is asked a question that's slightly political, he gives his opinion straight. When Pep was asked about the booing, because I read up on all that stuff about what happened, Sheffield and all that, at the booing at Wembley, and they asked him about it. Instead of saying, I think that was shocking, they shouldn't do it, he said, I think the club have put out a statement giving their point of view, or something like that. Yeah. And it's not good. No, you say what you flipping well think. What's the matter with him? Is he a bloody muppet or what? He should. Does he think he's not allowed to stand there and say that's wrong?
The fact that he even knew the statement had been released probably tells you that either he or the club is so orientated about its image that that's just what was in his mind and didn't even think to give his own opinion.
I think that I thought that was daft. So maybe they shouldn't question him, maybe on that topic, but I'm afraid it comes with football and so tough. Just to say, Ben, I hope
Ben hasn't made it this far.
Yeah, never would have made it this far. But what's the difference between a bucket of shit and a Chelsea fan? The bucket. But just to say, talking of offence and offending people,
yeah.
I thought it was interesting. I also looked. You see, I've been doing bugger all day, and I tapped something in, and I was reading about Chelsea and stuff. I was looking Chelsea, obviously, and they were talking to their fans coming out on about the Abramovich thing, and one guy was answering, sort of, he don't know. I mean, he's done great for Chelsea. All these silly interviews, and there's Chelsea fans, he's brilliant for Chelsea, what happens if he's helped commit, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, he's been good for Chelsea. We shouldn't have to suffer. And all these silly comments, okay. But the best one was when they asked this guy about, and what do you think about Newcastle and the takeover? Because this was when it was Chelsea versus Newcastle. They're interviewing the fans, and they said to this Chelsea fan, "So what about the Newcastle takeover and the people that have taken over Newcastle? What do you think about that?" And he said, "Well, look at it this way. I think, on Tuesday nights, Newcastle fans have been going out in the cold winter night on Tuesday nights for years. They take off their top T-shirts and stand there half naked. I think they deserve it. They deserve something good, don't you think?" And I was just thinking, Kieran, shall I take my top off so I can deserve something really good?
I would rather you didn't expose your nudity onto the internet, because I don't know where that could go.
But I just think it was really funny the way this guy, the fact that a Newcastle fan was prepared to stand half naked behind the goal meant he deserved the money to have the football club do well.
Absolutely.
So
we don't do that. So.
Have you got anything you'd like to finish with, Kieran?
Not particularly, mate.
I can't say that one. Okay, I will say this one. And so, Kieran, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
I'll say goodbye, but I'll say goodbye with, why do ducks fly over Stamford Bridge upside down? That's because there's nothing worth crapping on. Okay, and
that's all right.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, better than the one I read previous. Okay, and with that, we'll say goodbye. Next week we will do the one about free kicks, just as Ronaldo scored his free kick. Right, bye then.